we will now be having the social media session where we'll be looking at where each voice counts and how all of us can resonate louder together. I'd like to invite our speakers on stage for the social media session to please come up. Ibu Desi Anwar, Ms. Koyal Puri, and Alok Kejriwal. We will first start with Ibu Desi Anwar.
Thank you very much, Raisha. Hello, everybody. And thank you for allowing me to be here among so many absolutely inspiring women and beautiful, beautiful women in their saris. I feel, like completely underdressed here. I mean, this is actually, in a way, quite a tough session. We are entering the lunch hour. And we're competing with, quite a hungry tummy. And the other thing is, of course, having a talk in Bali, it's always a challenge, even for me, an Indonesian. Why are we here in this air-conditioned room when there's absolutely beautiful beach outside? Guys, what are we doing? We should be having fun outside. But anyway, I hope that this session will sort of provoke some thoughts. And a few minutes ago, actually, I had the honor of meeting with Guruji himself, and the word that he mentioned is actually, we are at the moment going through a shift in our consciousness. And I think if we talk about the social media and how our voices matter, I do believe that the social media is actually that tool, the catalyst that enables our shift in consciousness by allowing everybody on this planet, or 7 billion people, potentially to be able to have a say in everything, not just sharing, what you're eating for breakfast, but opinions, thoughts, ideas, is not only incredibly empowering, but it is doing something to the way we're going, to how we are, all of us here on this planet, contributing, changing, and influencing the world. Although there is a caveat, a tool like a knife, it's a double-sided. You can use it for good things, but unfortunately in the wrong hands, you can also use it for bad things. Now, let me focus more on Indonesia, the landscape of the social media in Indonesia. And I'm happy to inform you, actually last week, actually a few days ago, the CEO of Twitter, his name is Dick Costolo, actually visited Indonesia to open the Jakarta, an office in Indonesia, in Jakarta, in Jogja, and in Surabaya. Why? Because Indonesia is very much, I think Sophia mentioned earlier about Jakarta being the capital of Twitter. Indonesia is a very rapid adopter of the social media. Facebook was founded in 2004 and Twitter in 2006. And very, very quickly, Indonesia became the 4th largest user of Facebook and the 5th largest user on Facebook. And in terms of numbers, Twitter, in terms of number, every day, 500 million tweets, and I'm talking about 500 million tweets per day, are generated from all over the world. And quite a big chunk of it comes from Indonesia, Jakarta being one of the most prolific users. I think around 50 million Indonesians are active Twitter users. Now, when we talk about the butterfly effect, it's more like the tsunami effect. I can recall 3 instances that I would like to share with you that actually shows how our voice does matter. Now, the first one is back in 2009, this is only 5 years after Facebook was launched, a woman called Prita Mulyasari, just an ordinary housewife living in Jakarta. She was diagnosed at a hospital, and it was quite a new hospital. It was a very big, fancy hospital, which I shall not name, but anyway, she was not very happy about her treatment. And so she wrote an email to her friend. And in the email, she just said, I don't think they treated me well, and I think it was a misdiagnosis, and basically she was not happy with how she was diagnosed and treated at the hospital. And this email somehow got leaked and got into the hands of the hospital. And do you know what they did? They sued her. They sued her for defamation. And they actually took her to court. And, they said this is, it's bad for our image and it's wrong and da-da-da-da-da. And they sued her for $20,000. And $20,000 is a lot of money, especially with the exchange rate. And she didn't have that kind of money. But what happened was people in the social media got wind of this case. They see it as this huge sort of institution bullying this poor woman. And the court actually said that she was guilty, and they fined her $20,000. So the Facebook and Twitter started, these are the individuals with no thoughts other than their feeling, sort of empathy for the plight of this woman, plus also a criticism on the kind of justice that Indonesia often dispenses. This is crazy. So they started a campaign called Coin for Prita. So everybody got together, and literally, 100 rupiah and $1,000, and very soon it became a viral campaign. And do you know how much money they raised? Literally, in a few weeks, $60,000 from Coin, and they said, here. And they brought it to court and said, here, and it's all in the coins. By then, of course, the hospital was like, okay, this is doing more damage. And they said, no, actually, we're taking back the case, and da-da-da. So that is one very clear example how anybody, suddenly can find justice, which they would not have been able to do through the legal and formal means, but because of the work and the voice of individuals. People like you, people like me, and prove that they can do something about it. Now, the second example is actually a few years ago. There was a national sports week held in Sumatra, in Lampung. And it was a big thing, and it's to attract tourism, and it's to attract visitors from all over Indonesia. Now, this place at Lampung had lots of wild dogs, the street dogs roaming the road. And obviously the regent there, the local government said, this is not good for our image. We've got to get rid of these street dogs. There could be rabbits, and it's not good for the image. So what did they do? None of us knew this until the picture appeared in social media. They started poisoning the dogs, literally. And a photo was leaked. Somebody posted and said, look, this is what I found. It's a pile of dead stray dogs on the side road. This is cruel. And then all the animal lovers started saying, this is really bad. Please, to all of you competing in that sports week, don't do it. Boycott the event until you see that something is being done. And of course, again, because of pressure, and then the thing about the social media is what I tweet here, in Bali, you can see it, in Alaska, so everybody got onto this anti, dog poisoning campaign, and very, very soon, they had to basically change their strategy of getting rid of the dogs. So you had to come out and say, no, we're just, catching the dogs, and we're putting them in shelters, and so on and so forth. And the last example that I would like to give, which I think really illustrates not just, sporadic campaigns, focused activism, but it's how it can actually change the fate of a nation. Okay, last year in Indonesia, 2014, we had our direct presidential election. And even Twitter itself calls 2014 Indonesia's first Twitter election. So if I don't know whether you follow what's happening in Indonesia, but we have, for the first time, only two candidates. Number one and number two. And the country was actually split bang in the middle for number one and pro number two. Now, number one had all the political, very sophisticated campaign and all the political machinery that they put together because of very good financial backing. The campaign strategist imported from the United States, and everything was completely organized, and it showed. The voting was skewed to number one. Now, the number two, unfortunately, did not have that very sophisticated as a matter of fact, he was, because of the sophistication of the campaign strategy of the number one, was often the victim of the smear campaign and the black campaign that actually basically put his candidacy in jeopardy. But the followers of number two, most of them are actually ordinary people. The students, the young people, the women. So what did they do? They went to Twitter, they went to social media to gather, basically change everybody's opinion. So it was a spontaneous and it was very, very effective. It was last minute, but then it shows the power of social media in actually influencing the people. And they actually organized concerts within days. And, well, as we know, the result speaks for itself. So the number of tweets that occurred globally in 2014 related to the Indonesian election was, if you're familiar with the expression trending topics, the Indonesian election was basically up there for so many months in the trending topics. And the other thing is the candidate number two, in terms of the tweets and retweets, were something like 20 to 30% more than candidate number one, even though the polling is saying something else. But the Twitter tweets and retweets is actually a clear reflection of what people were feeling at that time, and it was a good mirror of what was happening at the time. So just the final ratio, because I don't want to spend too much time. I will not show my slides, but just quickly in terms of numbers. Okay, when I was, I founded one of the first internet portals in Indonesia. It was called astaga.com. That was back in 1999 to the year 2000. Internet penetration in Indonesia then was, guess how many percent? It's only 2%. Now fast forward 15 years later, it is now 35%, and that's exponential. And the reason why I think that Twitter and Facebook are very eager to have a representative office here in Indonesia, because 32% is not 100%. 75% of the users of internet in Indonesia, this is also very interesting and very telling about how we use the social media, under 35 years old. Under 35 years old. Okay? 85% actually access the internet. How? Phones. It's not the computers anymore. Remember, it used to be expensive. But now you can get phones for less than $100. All these cheap phones, and you can go online for nothing. They say that, in the ladder of needs, you have these steps. You have needs for security, need for food, need for this, and then as you go up. Yes, but now the very basic needs that Indonesians, especially young Indonesians, want and insist on having, do you know what that is? Nope. What's the point of having a phone if you don't have this? It's a Wi-Fi connection. This is the first thing that people do as soon as they get to a cafe. What's a Wi-Fi password? They don't even say, do you have Wi-Fi anymore? Because if you go to a cafe and it says, what's your Wi-Fi? We don't have Wi-Fi. Oh, forget it. You know. And the other thing that's interesting about Indonesia, because we still have a lot of young, what we call the bonus demographic. Most Indonesians, in Indonesia, we have 250 million people. Most are still in that productive age of between 15 and 35%. And these are 15 years old and 35 years old, sorry. So this is something that not only allows social media to grow, but the adaptability of Indonesians to technology is huge because it's within the character. Now, the Indonesian character perhaps is very similar with our friends in India. We like to chat. Everything is chat, and the other thing is eat, preferably both. Eating, chatting, cafe, data. So this is what they use the social media for. And actually, a lot of it is used for trivial things, you know, posting what you have for breakfast and your thoughts and so on and so forth. But when it comes to actually changing things, because Indonesians are also obsessed by politics, we have been a democratic country only since 1998. And that's not some very long time ago. But we are enjoying the we're the freest in terms of having the freedom of expression in this region compared to our neighbors, for example, in Malaysia and in Singapore. And that allows for this incredible use of the social media because there isn't that fear of, oh, if you do this, you will, you know, the Sedition Act will put you in jail. Although there are things like that happening, but it's a lot less. And the other thing is the social media, it has been proven to be a very effective tool for political, getting political traction. That's why, you know, when owning the media, whether it's television, radio, newspaper, plus having all these social media platforms, is something that, you know, people feel, especially if you have political interest, you have to be out there. You have to be tweeting. And this is, we've seen this with our former president, you know, Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono. He was an avid Twitter user, and you can still find him tweeting about his thoughts and his opinions. So I guess, Raisha, I'll start off with that. And again, let's have a good discussion, and I'm interested to know what my colleagues from India have to say about social media in India. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ibu Desi. It's really nice that you've highlighted the fact that social media is really a mirror to all of us. And perhaps as we proceed with the session, we can really explore how we can mirror ourselves, our positive selves through this channel. We'll now hear it from Koyal Puri.
Hello, everyone. To share my love-hate relationship with social media, I'm going to read from my diary. This could be any day. It so happens, this day happens to be 29th of March. 7 a.m., check baby monitor, still asleep. Must remember to WhatsApp the mother's group about the sports class today. Check phone, 7 emails about the new set design for my show. Decide to tweet pictures to get public response. Absolutely love this democratic way of working. Scan through the news, ISIS issue a new threat with another horrific video. You know, all they want to do is shock. So perhaps if there was no YouTube, maybe gang rape girls' videos go viral. Sick. Who are these people? Sick. Free midday meal poison 50 students at a girls' school. Oh gosh, that school is right near my house. Rustle on the baby monitor. No, still asleep. Check watch, 7:06 a.m. What was I doing? Oh, Yeah, the news. Oh my God, the attention span these days is 0. Anyway, back to what's trending. My choice video about women empowerment by actress Deepika. Yeah, but how does that help the gang rape girl? Hashtag Nirbhaya campaign changed the laws, but not much else. There's a rape every 6 hours in Delhi. And what happened to the women's line? Helpline. Does it work? Must remember to check. Woo! So that's how Kim Kardashian contours her face. Way too much effort. Who has the time? Knock on the door. Let the cook in. She looks distressed. I'm about to ask her. Her phone beeps. She runs into the kitchen. 7:10 a.m. Scroll down Twitter. 70 plus notifications in less than 10 minutes responding to my beautiful new set. Yes! I love the power and volume of instant connect with my viewers. And they say, I hate your guts, you fat cow. Okay, whatever. I like your backdrop. Can you please RT the new app we're launching called MG where you communicate solely through emojis? Who cares about your backdrop, you expletive? How dare you ask Mr. B about romance, you expletives. This set is as ugly as your vomit face, you puke. Okay, enough. Nothing but trolls. I mean, who needs to feel connected anyway? Viewers don't really know what they're talking about. Democracy is totally overrated. Hang on. Are they right? I mean, am I really that bad? Maybe TV is not my thing. Feeling anxious. What will I do? I'm not qualified, am I? I don't know. Don't panic. Don't breathe. I mean, breathe. Breathe. I've forgotten how to calm my breath. Must practice. But where's the time? I mean, surely we should have more time now that we can do things quicker, connect with the world sitting at home, make a proposal while in the car. Why do we have no time? I mean, I haven't got through my Twitter timeline yet, and it's already 7:35 a.m. God knows what's been trending for hours. Feel like I'm always playing catch up and just missing out. Well, at least I'm not on Tumblr, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Snapchat, Flickr. Maybe I should be. Then I wouldn't feel so disconnected. I mean, tell me, how can I feel this unconnected and this lonely when I have over 75,000 followers and at least a few thousand friends on Facebook? Oh, let's check Facebook. Post about Naina having lost her 3-year-old sister at Noida Easter Mela last evening? What? Shocking, sad, scary. 102 comments, 345 likes. Should I like it? But that just seems wrong. I mean, how do you like a tragedy? I leave a comment. I'm so sorry. Let me know if there's anything I can do. Yeah, I think that's good. Then spend 20 minutes checking the profile of someone I don't even know or I supposedly know, who I'm too scared to unfriend in case I do actually know her, and besides, she likes every single photo I post and pokes me often enough to make me feel so wanted. And here I am checking her boring holiday pictures to Patna with her ugly dog in front of that. Interrupted by hysterics in the kitchen. Check monitor. Luckily, baby is still sleeping. Find my 25-year-old cook crying. Her brother has had an accident in their village in Jalpaiguri, is in hospital and desperate for Rh negative blood and a possible kidney because both his are perforated. She's on WhatsApp messaging like crazy. I thought she could barely read and write. Turns out she can WhatsApp. She holds up distressing photos of her injured, bleeding brother that have been sent to her. Why? Why would someone send photos like this? She's typing a message per second. She's trying to console her family, though she has second-by-second update. She feels disconnected, helpless. She's so far away, it would take days to get to her village. What is she supposed to do apart from just messaging? And just then I think, this virtual world has to convert and converge into the tangible world, else what is the bloody point? Shriek on the monitor. Mama, Dudu. 8:17 a.m. Now, imagine if I decide to use all the tools and all the people available to me on social media differently. Just imagine. 7 a.m. Check baby monitor, still asleep. Log on to Guruji's podcast. 20 minutes Sudarshan Kriya, conducted by him while I sit in my room. Feel calm and centered. scroll through the news, midday meal poisoning, WhatsApp my mother's group to chip in for the daily meal for the girls' school in our neighborhood. Contributions come flying. Guilt for all the food our kids waste, I suppose. We decide to take turns on random monitoring. More good news. Activist Sunita Krishnan's hashtag movement, Shame the Rapist, results in arrests. With a lot of clicks on the keypad, including mine, I'm proud to say, and millions of shares later, she manages to use the very videos the rapist made to nab them. Hurrah! The combination of hashtag activism and online ground might has proven to be explosive once again. Just like it was with hashtag ask her more, hashtag why I stay, hashtag he for she. Of course, it needs discipline and harnessing, and doesn't always work, like it didn't for the case of hashtag bring back the girls, but at least we must try. 7:35 a.m. See Naina's Facebook post about her missing sister. Send a message to Deepika Padukone, who has 25 million followers. Dee, love the My Choice video. Can you help find this girl? It strikes a chord. She posts a picture. Her fans go crazy. Within minutes, the girl has been located, crying but safe, outside a metro station. Oh, the joy of virtual media delivering tangible outcomes. It's not only possible, it is happening. All it requires is for us to stop favoriting and to start doing, or both, if you're so inclined. Imagine further. 7:52 a.m. I tweet the great Mr. Amitabh Bachchan to say desperately require Rh negative blood and a possible kidney in Jalpaiguri. His 14 million followers will do anything for him, and my cook's brother will be safe in minutes. Now, I know it sounds so simplistic to solve medical emergencies like this, but the power, reach, and volume already exists with us, the Digerati. And no, you don't have to be a really famous person or have millions of followers. All you need is the will. Start the conversation. And then speak up, not just on cyberspace from one keypad to the other, but in real space, to real people from real platforms. Unfortunately, social media in its current form is a salacious mob, and the loudest voices are always the most extreme. But that's true for real life also. So just like in real life, to bring about positive change, the more level-headed, silent majority has to speak up. They have to wake up and they have to speak up. I mean, did you know, for instance, that 44% of Twitter users have never sent a tweet? That's akin to having a voice and using it only to listen. Guruji has it right. The voice of good people must be heard. Where there is lack of spirituality and belonging, corruption arises. And this begins to reverse when common people take responsibility. So take that responsibility responsibly. It's time to stop getting sucked in, stop imagining. Time to switch off and then switch on with awareness and make the possible possible. So in the end, I have a proposal for all of you. And here it is. It's called the Do Good Selfie Chain. You do an act of good. It could be as simple as helping someone, forgiving someone, or making a charitable contribution. Then you take a selfie and inspire someone else to do an act of good. So my today's Do Good Selfie is that I have enrolled and paid for my nanny's daughter Sona's computer classes. Here's my credit card, here's my phone, here's my selfie. Your turn.
Thank you so much, Koyal. Thank you so much. We'll now move over to Alok Kejriwal.
Thank you. So just a point on the fact that you were talking about the power of tweeting. You know, my company we did the first Indian Idol many years ago when there was no tweet and there was no internet, and we were powering up by SMS. And the trivia I picked up at that time was, when someone asked me, the American team asked us, how many people will vote for the Indian Idol? Yeah, I'm a conservative guy. So I said, about 10,000, 20,000. And they shocked us by saying, more people vote for the American Idol than they vote for the US president. And this was back then. So when we did it, we broke all records. And it was shocking to see how technology, simple technology in the hands of consumers can blow things up. Anyway, so let me present a couple of ideas on the butterfly effect. So I think we've had a, if I may dare say, overdose of social media. And I want to go back to the theme that I really love. And when Bhavna Didi showed, when I just read that word, I wasn't invited then. I wasn't, I kid you not. But I said my heart leapt because the butterfly effect is a metaphor for entrepreneurs. And I want to inspire each and every one of you to think of yourself. Actually, I see 300, 200 butterflies in front of me. That's the way I look at it. And I think each one of us can flutter. So I want to just walk you through some of the very tangible, real examples and, leave it to yourself to understand if you could be this or not. So next, please. I want to walk you through simple 5 butterfly effect stories. Yep. Next. So the first one is about this lazy French man whose girlfriend wanted to sell her second-hand jewelry. It was actually trinkets. Now this girl told her boyfriend that, she was fond of second-hand jewelry, whatever that means, and then she wanted to sell them, which is, I think, a bigger challenge. And this poor guy was like, said, dude, who cares? But she insisted and insisted and insisted. And he tried to sell it on the internet. And he looked around. He was lazy. He could have gone outside and sold it. But he said, how do I sell this? And he began to think of a platform or an idea that could do that. Now, I just want you to imagine this French man, this nagging girlfriend trying to make him sell silly second-hand jewelry. Well, believe it or not, next, the result was eBay. Yeah. So, eBay was the result of, it's a butterfly effect, right? What are you doing? You're just taking silly trinkets, putting it up on the web and saying, hey, anybody wants to buy how many of you would buy second-hand trinkets of jewelry? Nobody, right? Someone would. One person out of 200. But that began eBay. So the lesson, the butterfly lesson is, if you can help yourself, you can land up helping the world. Do something for yourself. And believe it or not, the world will take it up. Because you just don't know. You just don't know. As I love, everything matters, right? Everything matters, right? Next story. So this is going to be fun. You guys are going to get shocked. So how many of you guys have done aerobics or like aerobics or pretend to do aerobics? Okay, great. Okay. Yeah, sometimes it's nice to pretend, right? It doesn't have to be true. You can do aerobics in your mind. So this is really cool Colombian teacher, man. But, and believe it or not, there's a woman in all my stories. So I kept to the brief before I got kicked out. This man aerobics teacher, right? He's like a normal guy making people do his exercise, pounding them, just kind of making them do stuff. Now he lands up in his class and he forgets his music tape. Tragedy. I want you to think a little bit serious now. Butterfly effect. One is, cancel class, women will kiss him and say, thank you very much. The teacher made a mistake. The second is, he says, no, I don't have my music, but I can improvise. And believe it or not, he improvises in the class using salsa and a couple of music techniques he knows live. Now hold your breath again, right? This is happening in Colombia in a clumsy make-do aerobics class. The butterfly effect is, next. Zumba was created because of that one incident. And people just love to tango and salsa on music. Who wants to, do stuff again? So this is story number 2. Next, please. And I think the lesson is just improvise just that moment. A lot of us just give up. I think the lesson I took out of this thing was just improvise. You just don't know. That improvisation may be actually what people are looking for. Right. This is a man if I give the name, I'm scared someone will get it, so I'm going to keep it to myself, but nevertheless. A rather really, struggling bookseller, just going around the world trying to sell his books, and the women he would try to sell these books to, women again, were more interested in his free perfume sample. Now, I've been through this thing where, we buy thousands of cosmetics, but that small sachet of some silly thing is what people want, I don't understand the psychology, but I stay away from commenting. Not good to comment on these things, right? Just keep quiet. It's free. So this man was really, really struggling, and he was trying to say, how do I sell my books? But people wanted that ugly free perfume. Again, butterfly effect. You keep trying to, sell books and keep trying to give away silly perfume, or next, Avon company. So he quit selling books and he started selling perfume. But the best part of this pivot, as we call it in technology, was that he employed the women that were buying from him as salespeople. So Avon's technology, for all of you, Avon's an old company, but Avon's biggest claim to fame was that the consumer became the salesperson, and they had no shop. Every consumer who bought Avon became the seller, and that's how all these, the latter MLL marketing techniques were bought. So, lesson from this? Yeah, they just like something else. You might be selling them something else, but they actually want something else. And if you dive a little deeper into your own activity, into what you do, you never know. There's someone sending you a message saying, hey, you know what? Can you do this for me? I know you're trying to do that. If you capture with that, if you activate that, you could be creating a global butterfly effect or a local butterfly effect. Who cares, right? It's still creating an impact, right? So this is my favorite, and I've chosen it specially for you. And I can keep going on and on and on. I'm a storyteller, but nevertheless. Now, this hippie woman whose husband wanted to ride a horse from Buenos Aires to New York. I think she married a hippie man, because that's a kind of hippie idea. Vagabonds, husband and wife, vagabonds, if you know the term. The husband said, I want to ride this horse. The woman said, no problem, I'm going to support you. Now, because of their world travels, they had understood a lot of local flavor, passion, and they were into this global scene because they were hippies, right? They knew what happened. So she said, you know what, I'm going to do this, we'll sell everything. They had a restaurant ko bej diya, they sold the restaurant. And the woman said, I'm going to open a small shop. I'm going to use the knowledge I've had of all this hippie traveling so that I can make some different goods to help sell and send you money while you do your horseback travel, right? So hold your breath. The result, next. Now, how many of you are hippies here? Can you put up your hands? How many of you have done horseback riding from Argentina to New York? No. That's the lesson. No, that's not the lesson. Koel, you are, right? Hippie. So the lesson I found is, do what your heart tells you to. That's where butterflies are born. For me, that is where the butterfly is, in the heart. It's nowhere else. It's in your heart. Let that butterfly go free. That, to me, is my lesson. Now, at the cost of sounding a little vain, and this is Resha, I'm going to blame you for the next one. The fifth lesson, this is a story of a lonely entrepreneur who didn't know how to give back, and I must share this with you. I had an Art of Living teacher whom I went to many, many years ago. Let me reveal the stories about myself. And this Art of Living teacher, when I told her, I said, you know what, I'm not getting a kick. I'm a guy with a kick, मैं kriya nahi karta hu, I don't get a kick. Kriya karta hu, I don't get a kick. Give me something to get a kick. And she said, your cup is full, empty your cup. So I said, boss, that's too hard to understand. What do you mean? And then she dumbed it down and she said, share, give, do something. So all I began to do was I created a small community of entrepreneurs, and I said, let me share my ideas, let me share my stories, because that's the only thing I have. I have nothing else. I have scars on my back that I can show people who want to see them and say, don't do these things to get those scars. You should go and earn your own scars, right? So I began to meet people, and this is what had started. Next. So the first member, I met this, pretty girl in Bangalore, and she became my first community member, literally, one, right? And then I had someone hosted a dinner for me in Delhi, so we met some more, okay? And then this is my office, and there's a rowdy bunch of hooligans who started meeting in my office, and we said, okay, let's share stuff. And then we had to rent an auditorium because my office was not big enough. And last, this is what it looks like. So it's grown from 1 to 10,000. And I hope with the grace of my guru, one day someone will present a story on the Rodin Hoods, like I'm presenting a story on everybody else. But the lesson, if I learned, was next. Start flapping your wings. Other butterflies will join. Right? Right. So, last but not the least, I want you to do this, and this I have taken the liberty of getting asked. Each of you, I want to do a live butterfly experiment right now. Right now. Enough of you guys sitting and just watching us talk, right? So can you all face each other or your partner, whoever you're next to, and just tell him, her, hopefully her, all the hers and hims, just share with them what has made you empowered, what has made you come to this stage today, what is it that you think, just one tip that made you so confident, that made you so successful, just share it amongst yourself to the person next to you, because I think we can get 200 butterflies to share with 200 butterflies and just blow this up. The point I want to make is this. Thank you so much. And if you haven't completed, you can do that during lunch. If each of you share this on social media, you can imagine the power that it unleashes. So the whole idea is, if 200 can connect with 200, there's 200 million people out there ready to hear your message. Make that brief, get out there, and share your story, right? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alok. I'm sure we'll have a lot more stories coming out now on social media. We have a couple of questions actually to really explore how we should move through social media and how we should use the channel more effectively. I'd like to just first ask Ibu Desi. You were sharing with me earlier this morning about social media behaviors and about responsibility on social media. Could you elaborate that and share that with the audience?
Okay, well, the thing with social media, like I mentioned earlier, it's a tool, basically. It's a tool, and like any other tool, there's a right way to use it, and there's a wrong way to use it. Now, the point which we often forget about using social media as a tool, it's because we are so connected to it. Okay? There's a song in Indonesian, bangun tidurku terus mandi. So when I wake up, and then I go and have a shower. Now the song is, when I wake up, I check my handphone. No, I mean, come on, let's be honest. How many of you do that first thing in the morning and last thing at night? Okay? So what happens, Resha, is we are lulled into this complacency that it's part of us. We're very intimate to it, I mean, we're so intimate with our social media gadgets that we pour our thoughts, our opinions, and we say things that we would not say to anyone face to face. I said, "Oh, lovely hair," oh, she's not. In your diary, you say, I don't like that person. I know, I don't. But they do this on social media. People tweet. And then they find that actually they regret it. So my advice is, because we've seen examples how celebrities, one wrong tweet, their career goes in a second. We had, I don't know if you remember, there's a very prominent senior BBC anchor. One wrong tweet, he was fired. Actually, a colleague of mine at CNN, there was a funeral of some sheik at that time. And she kind of, they said, oh, well, you know, condolences, a funeral. But it happened to be that she worked for CNN, and the guy was seen as the enemy. She was fired. So we've seen so many examples where we are lulled into complacency, thinking that it's a friend. Okay? One of the things that I think, if you, as a mother, especially with children, okay, the things that parents do on Facebook is, what do they do? What do they often do? They post pictures of their children. Post pictures of their babies, you know, maybe naked, chubby, cute, and look at 20, 30 years later, when this child is grown up to be maybe, you know, a future president, whatever, you know, these pictures will haunt them for life. And it may not be something that you want to have as a record of your past. Yeah. So, you know, my point here, like, is stuff that you would not say to your grandmother's face, you should think before you share it with the rest of the world. Okay, so I think this is, you know, and a lot of people make light. They think, oh, you know, this is cute, this is fun. But remember, I think posting pictures of it, you see it all the time. Everybody shares. You know, cute, my little girls. We share the same space also as with pedophiles. We share the social media. We share space with people who are criminals. We share space, exactly the same space, and we're talking, it's a very small space with psychopaths. So this is something that I think everybody needs to be aware of. And we've had incidents here in Indonesia of, because stuff posted on YouTube, I mean, anybody can get on YouTube, and kids are emulating, you know, whether it's in the form of bullying, whether it's in form of, you know, social abuse, whether it's in, you know, so we have to be very, very aware. Now, if you want to get in social media, and it's a great way to connect. It's a great way to actually make friends, and it's also a great way to get information and to promote what you're doing. Sure. But you have to know what you're doing. And I think educating ourselves and our children on the use of the social media should be part of the education curriculum these days.
Thank you. I think Alok wanted to get in a word.
Yeah, so I have a very different view. I mean, I completely get it, and I'm cognizant of what you're saying. But I'm talking about a revolution. You know, there is a very large thinking going on in Facebook and Google to launch internet balloons. These are balloons that will go beyond the atmosphere into the stratosphere and bounce internet signals across the globe. If you hear Zuckerberg, he says the internet liberates people. And you know what I would love to do is, with Guruji's grace, drop 100,000 phones on the Shinjar mountain, pre-embedded with Twitter, for the world to see what is going on. So while you can have all this going on, you need people to share. Pictures speak of a million words. If imagine Korea, North Korea, the North Koreans should be tweeting. They can't tweet because they don't have internet, they don't have device. It's a $50 phone with a chip and with internet, and the world will change. I think we can bring world peace using social media. You can lead a revolution.
I think Koyal also would like to share.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something to that, what you're saying about freedom and right to information especially, I think is amazing, in the connect. But at the same time, life is becoming more and more lonely. We might be sharing and sharing and sharing, but I won't be talking to you. I'll be sending you a photo of the selfie we just took outside rather than actually talking to you. So I really believe exactly what Desi said, that about it, there has to be a balance, and there has to be a certain sense of discipline. And for her, if that balance is whatever I'm not going to be able to say to my grandmother's face, I cannot do. And you have to have your own balances, right? As a public person, you say, okay, fine, nothing of my private life do I want to share, or everything of my private life I want to share. That's your balance. But everyone has to have a balance. You cannot just go, okay, social media, freedom, and it's a good thing per se.
But just a technical thing, if you trace the history of media, this is what they said when radio came out. This is what they said when movies came out. This is what they said when television came out. This is what they said when cable came out. The Homo sapien race knows when to stop. We don't have to educate ourselves. We can control ourselves.
I think it's really interesting that we've got like two different views here actually. You know, one that is more spontaneous because that is really the nature of the channel. We love a fight. And the other one is something that is a little bit more, determined. It's a little bit more thoughtful before really putting material out over there. But just to put something across, how according to y'all can we use this channel to really further women's empowerment? We spoke about, the ISIS issue earlier as well, and even Alok has touched upon it. We know that there is an increasing usage of extremist elements really using this channel to further their causes. How can women, we actually come forward to, or as individuals, as human beings, what could we do to really make a difference?
But it's already happening. I mean, there are huge communities for support. And I think like one of the biggest problems that anywhere in the world women face is domestic violence, right? And something that they're not happy to come out yet and talk about. But the anonymity that social media gives you allows you to share, to feel that you're, now that's one that I'm contradicting myself, that's the space where you don't feel alone. Suddenly you feel that there is a sea, an ocean of people who are feeling the same, and there was a movement called #WhyIStayed, and there is, there was, and it was a very successful movement, and it was explained, because I think I've forgotten the exact context of it, but in America, someone belittled a woman staying for 15 years in a violent marriage. And the person came out saying, this is why I stayed. And women came out saying, #WhyIStay, why I stay, why I stay. And it became a huge movement where eventually it changed a certain law where women could come anonymously to a police station, do a complaint. So these things are already happening.
But do we all feel that the voice somewhere needs to be louder? I'm sorry, you wanted to say something, Ibu?
Just to add on to that, absolutely right. I mean, this question of anonymity, actually I asked the same question to the CEO of Twitter. Why do you allow, for example, anonymous accounts? Because, for example, in the last year's election, there are all these things, I don't know if you know the word bots. Basically, these are computer-generated tweets designed to produce a certain impact, whether it's to say, Alok is a terrible man, da-da-da-da-da. But these are not real people, but posing as real people. And it actually did sway a lot of public opinion on certain issues. And I said, why are you allowing that? Because when you hide behind anonymity, basically it gives you the freedom to say anything really bad about somebody and not be accountable to it. When you speak to somebody face to face, you wouldn't say, "Look, God, I don't like you," or "You're ugly," but you're quite happy to do that and share it to the how many 100,000 followers you have. And his answer was, well, because the world is not equal, okay? In some other parts of the world, you still can get penalized, you can still get jailed for expressing your opinion. So if you are expressing your honest opinion and you find yourself that you landed in jail because it's, the country, even though social media is democratic, the world is not. So that's one of the reasons. And that's why, on the positive side, the Arab Spring happened. It's because of this anonymity. But we still see it in the neighboring countries like Malaysia, for example. Bloggers are jailed because of their, in China. So there is
India.
In India, and even like I said, even in Indonesia, if you say like, "Oh, I am atheist and I'm proud of it," someone's bound to say, "Oh, you are insulting this and that." But on the other hand, we've seen how anonymity as well has given voice to extremists. I mean, ISIS is one of the key successes of their recruitment process is through the social media.
So
but
maybe, Ibu, if you could just keep that point just for the side, if you could just park it. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of people from the audience who would also really like to participate in this dialogue to really kind of explore with us and with the panel as to what we all could collectively do. Would any of you like to share your views?
Before just one thing, what she picked up on, like saying the Arab Spring and talking about how we have these movements, one of the things with social media, and I hope that we can perhaps come up with one or two solutions, is that it's very good at disrupting and starting a movement. And I'm now talking about the positive. Let's leave the negative aside for a second. Let's leave the extremists aside for a second. So it's very good to start. It doesn't know what the next stage is. So even if the women are coming forward and they are able to tell their stories, what happens next? And I think that's something that we should be now thinking about. Like Arab Spring, we know what happened. It's, you know, so they know how to disrupt, but they don't know how to build. So I think we need to sort of see what's next.
Can we hear it from the audience?
So thanks. This was a really engaging conversation, and loved your stories and loved the role-playing coil of the situations. So one thing that really bothers many of us, I know, when we speak about this in smaller groups, is just as the social media can be used to disseminate information, reach out, create movements, etc., it is today being used actually, and to take from where Desi left, by movements like the ISIS to really drive these atrocious activities that are really enveloping us, no, with terror. So how does one really get a balance in this? Because on one side you're unleashing possibility to be empowered and empower others, and on the other side it is an equally powerful tool to really destroy. So how do you get the balance here?
It's a very metaphorical question. You know, would the French Revolution have happened earlier, faster, stronger, with or without Twitter? Would the Bastille have been stormed? Of course, it would have been stormed. You know, human beings have always had the latent ability to communicate, whether you give them Twitter or not. The question is the velocity. And to be honest, Rachita, you know, these are things. It's all about a weighing scale. If you weigh on one side the benefits and on the other side the cons, it's always about what wins in terms of the larger weight. I mean, with these, look at MOOCs, which is a whole online universities, right? Massive online, the world is learning things which they never learned before. Now on YouTube, you can make a bomb and you can also know how to make a car. The question is which gets watched more. So I am a defender of the fact that knowledge is great, and the world will gravitate towards good knowledge. And it's government, it's parenting. I mean, there's so many young girls who are joining ISIS now. It's not because they read it on Twitter, it's because of the way they've been brought up. They've been something
Very
inherently
small
wrong.
percentage that actually is being recruited through social media. And there's something else which is shocking to me, because we live in this time, but actually the time that we live in is one of the most peaceful times in the history of the world.
Awesome.
Like, if you go to the British Museum or any of the old museums, you see the horrors of what was happening in Mesopotamia or in Egypt. This is the most peaceful. Yes, it's horrific because we are going through it, but this is the most peaceful time in the history of the world. This is a fact.
Guruji's mentioned this many times, that this is the era in which they've been, compared to 300-400 years ago. So.
This is a very interesting issue, but sometimes when what you get in the social media, you start questioning is, are we really that bad? You know, this question of human nature. Are we really, because all this amount of hate that gets, spewed. But on the other hand, and I give you a couple of examples. There's in the States, and if you follow Twitter, and and I suggest, if you're not on, Twitter, you should start just to listen into the global conversation. Somebody went to a party, and of course, you take photos, obviously, everywhere you go now, and then you post them. And it's a picture of a guy at a party dancing, okay, and he was huge. And that somebody posted it saying, oh, look at this fat dude, basically making fun. I mean, social media is very good at bullying. Okay, so and it started making fun, and everybody's in it, look at this fat dude dancing, if I were him, I'd kill myself. Anyway, it was really nasty. And do you know what happened? Suddenly, somebody said, no, I think, he's having fun. I want to know this guy, and I want to take him out. There was a whole campaign of, who is the guy? We want to take him out. We want to show him the best time in his life, because having fun and you're dancing and you should not be ashamed about your body image. And suddenly he became a star. And then for him, it was life changing. And then another story that I want to share is about this little boy at a school, and he was wearing a pink polo shirt. And of course, everybody in the school like, yeah, you're a pansy, you're wearing pink, boys don't wear. He was bullied. But then his other school friends started this campaign of Let's Wear Pink Day.
We've had a very engaging session, and I'm sure we have a lot more ideas. Thank you so much, and I'm sure we will all contribute together on this and to much higher causes